for the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Featuring site publishers Carey Murdoch and Josh McQuistion, along with videographer Eddie Radosevich. It's the unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com podcast. And I don't know if, Josh, could you even hear the intro?
I actually could.
Okay.
I think they fixed the problem.
Yeah, the software that we use has been fixed. Anyway, Carey Murdoch along with Josh McQuistion joining us from his home base, Eddie Radosevich and Bob Prisbillo. And no, I did not use my vacation week to get a new intro, which I should have done.
Wah, wah.
Although it doesn't matter. A new intro is coming. I can't tell you why, but a new intro is coming soon anyway. So, and people have, trust me, people on the dislike. Shut up, singers. Okay, sorry about that.
We need a producer. We need to bring a producer in.
Well, F you.
Not saying you can, just saying that'd be the next step, right? Have an actual... a radio studio.
We are moving.
A Sirius XM satellite radio studio.
We are moving. Actually, our studio is probably better than a lot of theirs. I mean, like you see those guys set up.
No, but I want like a window studio
we're heading
on Campus Corner.
We're heading in that direction. I don't know on Campus Corner that's really expensive.
Like ESPN Chicago, like it's right on Michigan Avenue. You can just walk by and watch the guys.
They have
in the
millions
studio.
of dollars.
Well, that's
Eddie
what
wants
we're trying to do.
The
that's what we're trying
first
to build.
floor to be like a restaurant, like the Sooner Scoop restaurant, and then on top we'll have the studios.
We could do that.
Well, then
I know enough people in the restaurant business.
Right?
Yeah,
I was going to say,
awesome.
could you connect it to your Sky Bridge, Eddie?
Yeah, I think that's where it could be. We could be inside the Sky Bridge.
You know what? If you would like to help us get an office on Campus Corner and you're in realty and you can cut us a deal, give me a shout. See Murdoch at Soonerscoop.com.
Seemed easy.
I have learned to not, and this is, we're not letting anything out of the bag yet, but I've learned not to count out the power of Sooner Scoop when it comes to certain things lately.
Growing.
I'll just say that.
Growing big. Getting bigger.
So, yeah, there's a possibility that I think we may be headed toward
not an infancy stage.
A studio of some type.
That'd be sweet.
Where there's a glass wall between one room and another.
That'd be sweet. And you could I was thinking people walking by could come by.
Right.
Get some gear at the Scoop store and then.
What gear?
We're going to have gear soon.
We could make a pretty good, I think we could do pretty well in the Balfour game. Just take Balfour, put him out of business.
If you're a real estate person,
I'm gonna tell you
contact
this
Carey.
right
if you're
now.
a t-shirt person, contact me. We'll get some ideas together.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you are Balfour or the Apothem, you better start advertising on Soonerscoop.com before we open up a store and put you out of business.
Yeah.
You better become our partner, or we're going to run you over.
I like that. That's a little threatening.
I think that was like a... I want you to know, Carey, it's a little bit of a scary parallel. I'm reading a book about like the German Reich right now, and that sounded like a declaration of war just a little bit.
Yeah.
The line has been drawn.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if we do it, we do it.
With us or against us.
You know who else did that? With us or against us? You might be reading. You might be reading about him, Josh.
Well, George W. did that, right?
Oh, I was going to say Hitler, but
yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, he went strong to the hole in that game.
So anyway, we've got media. They have officially announced media availability.
It's official. I think I can say after last week.
It is.
We're officially here.
Well, and it's a momentous occasion. I think it speaks to the fact that Lincoln Riley. I always thought that Lincoln Riley was going to be a little bit more media savvy than Bob Stoops when it came down to it, just because I think he's a guy that understands publicity, or not. I think Bob understands publicity, sure, but desires publicity maybe more for his program. Would you say that's?
I mean, what was Stoops' regime kind of known for? We'll win with you or without you.
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
Riley's
that was the famous Cale
we're going to win
quote
with you, and we're going to win with you. You're coming.
This is
like he wants it to be out there.
Much different than Blake Bell versus Trevor Knight at 6:30 in the morning.
I was bitching about that this morning.
That was.
I will never not bitch about that when it comes to talking about photo ops.
And I think it also just had to do with we hated the guy that was, or I won't speak for everybody.
I mentioned his name this morning on the radio.
Go ahead.
Pete Morris was an idiot. To invite people out there
one of the most
in the
incompetent people that I've ever come across in this business.
Right, because it wasn't that it was 6:30 in the morning. That's tough, but you can live with that. There were no lights either.
I was talking to somebody who worked at Virginia Tech just the other day, who covered Virginia Tech and doesn't anymore. I totally screwed up, and I was supposed to do an interview with him yesterday, and I didn't. I slept through it. And he called, and I just ignored him.
That's all right. He's probably used to it.
I'm just now realizing that today.
Hopefully he doesn't listen.
No, Jason. He's not listening. Oh. So, you remember Jason Stamm, right, Josh? The Virginia Tech guy?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I blew him off yesterday. He's working on a doctorate. So anyway, Tweet Morris. Pete Morris, that's what we called him too. Yeah, he set up media availability in the freaking dark.
Let me just...
lights. Like,
I'll put it this way to people.
No lights. Like,
people will
in
understand
the dark.
This. I've never heard Barry Trammell cuss. He cussed at Pete Morris.
He did.
Yeah.
That was the level.
That's how frustrating he was.
Frustration with the guy.
Because he told us that we're the enemy, basically, the media.
Basically.
That we're the competition. And they're going to limit our access as much as they could. And Barry Trammell said, this is bullshit. And everybody left.
Yeah, because we had like 2 offensive players. Because, we don't know who the captains are. We don't know who's going to be, starting quarterback. So I think it was like Alex Ross and like some lineman, I think.
We asked for Stan Von Taylor one time. And I've talked about this before, black eye blindness. Like, it's the whole thing, all black people look the same, that whole bit. I think it's more like, there's some people that just have black man blindness. Like, they can't tell black people apart. And I don't know what that is. I work with a guy at the radio station like that. But like Pete Morris, I think he has black eye blindness because we asked for Stan Von Taylor.
And he might have just had people blindness because he brought in Brandon Green.
And didn't know who he was. And we didn't know who he was because we'd never talked to him before. But anyway, so we asked for Stan Von Taylor, and he brings out Austin Bennett, who was a receiver at OU, was only around for a little bit. And so people started I knew it wasn't Stan Von Taylor. I knew it was Austin Bennett. And so someone started a question with, Stan Von, can you talk about... And he let him ask the question, but then after it was over, he put his hand on his chest. He started thumping. He goes, "I'm Austin." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing." But yeah, he also brought out Brandon Green.
And then we were like, "Well, you might be awesome, but you're never playing, so no one really cares."
Well, Stan Von didn't really play.
I guess they have that in common.
That must have been. You know what?
It's amazing we requested Stan Von or Austin Bennett.
Well, he started in that Tulsa game that one year.
Yeah. That's right. 2014? Is that right?
Started as a true freshman and then never played again.
Yeah.
2013.
Should have been a receiver. I'll never say that they should have moved him to a receiver.
He seems like he's having a lot of fun raising horses and stuff like that. He does.
Is that what he's like the kind of guy that would do that.
He got his degree.
Yeah, he got his degree.
Yeah.
He's chilling.
He's a perfect example of somebody that loved football, but I think
wasn't his life.
Yeah, and just I think he's obviously very proud that he played at OU, but probably more proud that he got his degree because if I want to say that he was the first person to ever get his degree, even high school degree
in his family,
let alone a college degree.
Yeah. Stan, and Bob can attest. Stan Vaughn's an amazing kid. He was going back then. I haven't talked to him in a little while, but he was always awesome to deal with. And in high school, he was doing all the stuff, being the star athlete for East Central, which has plenty of challenges on its own. But also, most kids in high school take a McDonald's job or whatever. Just the basic job we all had in high school, whatever, just kind of easy. He worked at a retirement community, like, and worked with older, like that was his job. Like, I was like, who does that? And it was just, that was the kind of kid he was. Like, he just kind of had a little different perspective on things.
Okay, so the Sooners report tomorrow. First practice on Friday. We will get to talk to Lincoln Riley after their first practice. That'll be the only person we talk to. But and it's I haven't looked at the rules recently. I need to go look at, kind of catch up on a lot of NCAA bylaws. But it's always been, I think you have to practice 2 days without pads before you can have 1 day in pads. And now the 2-a-days are gone. And I don't even think that you can. Is it that you can't practice full pads 2 days in a row, or is it just you have to do so many days and then you have to have a day? Those whole rules they change a lot. But like 2-a-days are gone, and that was the thing. Like last year, they spread out the practices. Remember, they spread out the practices, and there were more of them, but there were no 2-a-days. And by the end of it, everybody was like, "Yeah, this is probably too many practices." So
let's see here.
Are you seeing what the
I'll
rules
try and look
are?
it up,
but yeah, so
not the easiest thing
Friday
to negotiate.
we'll talk to Lincoln. Then Monday and Tuesday and Friday we'll have media. Now we can go out and actually see people because it's going to be 9:15 a.m. on Monday. So Monday will be the first look that we'll be able to give you with photos and video, sights and sounds. So we'll be out there for the first 20 minutes, get to see the quarterbacks, Eddie, quick question: do you feel any better about the safeties this week than you did last week? Because a lot has happened.
Has anybody transferred in? No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, to say that they're effed is probably a little too much. But I mean, they have some serious question marks back there. I mean, I think that you would have to be an absolute homer to think that people are just going to step in and everything's going to be okay, or that they're going to be better. I mean, they're losing a guy in Stephen Parker that played a lot of football for OU, whether you want to say it was good or bad.
I think, here's the thing, like...
Are they more talented back there? I think they have a chance to be more talented than they have been. I mean, anytime you add Buki into the situation, even though he's not really technically a quote-unquote safety.
What's going to happen when you play Army, though?
Yeah.
And you have to tackle. I mean, they've got they're converting a bunch of corners.
They need a bunch of linebackers to have about 30 tackles that game.
That's the game Robert Barnes is the star.
Playing downhill.
I don't know, that's 3 games in the season. Will he even be able to play?
Yeah. That hamstring thing is kind of weird. I almost feel like it's more... There has to be something more to it. It's held him out since his senior year of high school almost. I guess he broke his leg in high school. So
Right.
yeah,
Separate. Yeah.
That's unfair.
But yeah, he's missed a lot of football.
I mean, by all accounts, it seems like he's had a decent summer.
I mean,
if you
look,
wanna put anything into that. So
they're going into camp. I mean, you have to wipe the slate clean. I mean, there's going to be every day.
I've already done it. I've talked myself into thinking that they're going to be not better on defense, but decent.
So
that would be better. That's the same thing.
You do feel differently than you did a week ago. Then.
Not just the safety position. I'm talking like defense as a whole. I think they're going to be better.
You're already contributing to the podcast.
His
we're ahead of last
attitude.
week.
Yeah, I didn't kill myself, so I didn't
got-
jump
The
off
moving
Devon
is
Tower.
over, right?
He went to Mathis Brothers. He's good.
Close.
Was
Got
Brennan
Cox coming
there?
today. No, he's at a different place.
Oh, okay.
I didn't go to there. Went to Mathis Brothers. They took care of me.
How much stuff did you get? Like,
I got a couch,
Uh-huh.
a love seat, a coffee table,
Wow, the biggies.
some end tables.
Wow.
Oh,
I mean, I had to get
Eddie got
everything.
end tables.
You
Oh,
have
he's
multiple end tables or just
Well,
one? Okay.
And I'm going to put one in my room. I had nothing. I had been so lucky.
You're using an end table for your nightstand?
Basically. I mean,
Okay.
it's going to kind of serve as that. But,
It's a little collegey.
yeah, it's all right.
Eddie's still basically living that college life. Like this is huge growth.
Well, no,
for
but
Eddie.
everybody in your life, like when I moved into this house, I made it a priority. Like, I will no longer have any particle board in this house. Like, I'm going to have just furniture everywhere.
Well, that's what
Is that
I'm
what you've
basically
done?
doing, yeah. I mean,
So you don't have like a rickety shelf, like sitting in your bedroom. Do you have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
3.
You have 3 bedrooms?
3 bed, 2 bath condo.
Jesus Christ.
No, I'm just kidding. It's 1 bed, 1 bath.
Paying
It's 1 bed, 1 bath. So, I mean, well, I have this shelf that I've had forever, and it actually is. It's a little older, but it still is very workable. That's my
sleeper
room.
sofa?
No.
For company? No?
No, I went.
Just F you can't stay here?
You can stay on the couch, but I'm not pulling out a couch.
Leather?
I think it's
Pleather?
I think it's microfiber.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty.
I think that's what it's called.
Stain
Tell you what,
proof.
though, going to like places like Mathis Brothers, everything just looks the same to me.
I could see that.
I don't really.
For you.
Yeah, I don't really see the difference in everything.
I was the same way, and then living with a woman, you're like I forget what color our room is sometimes. Like she'll be like, "What do you think the bed's color is?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And it's the same cover we've had for 3 years, and I won't remember what its color is.
Yeah.
So I get it.
I have no idea. But yeah. So
I can only imagine what Bob's house looked like before he was married.
Oh, yeah. A lot of posters on the wall.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have thought
What? Of what?
Like sports teams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Pennants and stuff hanging up?
Yeah.
Carmen Electra. Poster.
No, I'm never one of those guys. But
Carmen Electra.
I used to work at the theater in Norman, so
Oh, yeah?
we would have those big banners.
At the Hollywood?
They just
Yes.
give them away to
And
you
they
guys?
just give them away when it's over. So I had the miracle one, and I proudly
Oh, wow.
presented that one.
You still have it?
Yes, it's gonna find a home eventually.
Did you at least frame it now that you're older? Or did you just put bubble gum up on the corners?
No, you know what I'm talking about, like those big banners.
Yeah.
I mean, those are pretty sturdy. You don't need to do anything.
Oh,
with
okay.
them.
Okay.
It's bigger and wider. It's a huge thing.
Yeah, you can go to. I went over to that. I can't remember what I was looking for. I went over to some tool store on 240 in Oklahoma City, and that CDR electronics place where somebody went to try and sell their stolen gear. Eddie, you know what I'm talking about? Will Sunderland.
Yeah. Really disappointing that OU hasn't had an arrest this summer, but
I know.
kind of makes me
They are not ready.
wonder
If they're
what are
legit.
we hiding? Well, no,
They're soft.
Who got
You think
arrested?
Lincoln? You
I
think Lincoln has gotten to the
there's
police?
I think there's hush money being thrown around.
Well, when's the last time? We talk about recruiting rankings and everything. When's the last time that a national championship didn't come from a true Fulmer Cup contender?
That's true.
I think there's a correlation that has to be, you got to pay attention.
That is very, very true.
Got to have a little bit of crazy
But
in your
there's
locker
been
room.
some stuff. I mean, Chris Robinson. I mean, he got a DUI or public intox or whatever it was in Norman.
You know who's number one and number two in Fulmer Cup right now, 2018?
Ohio State.
OU. Texas Tech's number one.
Really,
Iowa State's number two.
really good for them.
The Renegades.
I mean, it makes me lose a lot of respect for Texas Tech.
Kansas is 8.
Ooh, Kansas. Hey, that's a breakout team, man.
Big
Maybe we got
12
to start talking about
Big
them.
12 has 3 teams inside the top 10.
There you go. Hey,
That's
maybe not competing with the SEC on the field.
exactly
but
right.
but
Off of it, ready to roll.
But I think the thing about the Fulmer Cup is they keep stuff against you even if charges have been dismissed.
Yeah, I think it's just if you get your name in the newspaper.
Yes, yeah. They don't go back. They don't worry about going back to double
Which
check.
I appreciate. It's
Yeah.
like the fake news of.
I'm sure OU's probably dinged for Rodney Anderson in their rankings still.
Let's see here. I think they have a team-by-team breakout. Joseph Lewis really doing himself and
Ooh,
USC a
yeah,
favor.
for sure.
Vaulted them up the rankings.
Let's see who won 2017.
Yeah, because he's got 2 separate domestic violence things, right?
He got
Now,
domestic
remind me-
violence.
He's
went to
he's
prison.
almost like a coach at OSU at Ohio State.
That's true.
Oh.
Urban family man.
My God, is he going to get fired?
It doesn't look good when 2 weeks ago he's standing on a podium in Chicago at Big Ten Media Day saying he had no idea about any allegations.
So this is going to be
And
the
had the
story
balls
today.
to cut the
Oh,
reporter off.
this is a huge story.
Today, this is going to be. I feel like we don't even need to explain what's going on, but
Yeah.
for the purposes of doing our jobs, so Brett McMurphy, who used to be at CBS and then ESPN hired him away, he's a really good reporter for college football. He's just kind of boring on air. He looks kind of like I always thought he looked kind of like he should be wearing a bolo tie all the time.
Take shots at OU
Like
every
Marty,
once in a while.
Marty.
Yeah, he's from.
He went to OSU.
Yeah,
Who
Cowboy.
Who sings El Paso? I know he's a Cowboys alum. Who's the guy that sang El Paso?
El Paso.
Marty Robbins. Marty Robbins, right? Like he reminds me of like Marty Robbins or something. Like he should be.
Can't say I'm familiar with Marty Robbins.
He should be putting around in New Mexico somewhere. You know.
Carey, I'm kind of on the
He
same
does
page.
look like Marty Robbins.
When you said this, I was thinking he looks like the cowboy that shows up at a birthday party for little kids.
Yeah.
That's exactly what comes to my mind when I see him with that mustache.
That is married to your divorced aunt.
So, but Brett McMurphy does a great job reporting, and so he now works for that stadium, whatever that is. They're doing high school games.
Stadium Watch or something? Is that what it's called?
I think it's just called Stadium. It's like it's another one of these all video companies that pop up and fail. Like what was the one out of Chicago that Reinsdorf was involved in? Campus Watch or something like that.
Yeah. I remember what you're talking about.
Like they came to a Rivals
Yeah.
convention one year and they were, we're gonna have all you guys on our experts and blah blah blah. And I was watching. I went to their website and I was like, okay, well, what? I'm not trying to rip anybody, but they were like, our OU expert is up next. I was like, oh, let's see who their OU expert is, and it was Dylan Buckingham. And Dylan, I mean, I understand where Dylan's at. Dylan has 2 jobs, working at the franchise and KFR. He doesn't have time to go to OU practice, but literally can't tell you the last time I saw Dylan Buckingham at an OU practice. Not ripping on him. He doesn't have, I mean, if I had 2 jobs like that, I wouldn't be going to OU practices either. He's too busy.
He's a busy man.
But that's what Stadium is, and that's what Brett McMurphy. So he has to write his article, because it's a video company, he has to write his articles on Facebook. So he talks to this woman of Zach Smith, is the coach that was fired recently at Ohio State, because Brett McMurphy was the one that uncovered it, right? That he'd had domestic violence issues going back to 2015 and to 2009. And so they asked Urban Meyer, because he'd been with him since he was at Florida, this Zach Smith guy. So they asked Urban Meyer, I mean, you can tell that part because I don't even remember exactly the denial or the, what he said about it.
Well, he just said he was asked about, because Brett McMurphy came out with a report last week at Big Ten Media Day about the Zach Smith and how he was involved in these, because he had been arrested again, I believe, for...
In 2009, he had been arrested and charged with domestic battery of, assault on a pregnant woman, because his wife was pregnant. He threw her against a wall.
Yeah, that's when they were at Florida together.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, it came up, it had been
unearthed. And I think they got her to drop the charges against
I'm sure they did.
In 2009, yeah.
These people are sons of bitches. And then in 2015, the allegations, I guess, came back up. Brett McMurphy had reported that, Urban Meyer knew about it, basically. And Urban Meyer's quote was asked about the 2015 allegations at Big Ten Media Days last week in Chicago, and he literally said, quote, "I don't know who creates a story like that," talking about Brett McMurphy, pretty much painting McMurphy as a guy that's just making shit up against Urban Meyer.
This guy doesn't work for anybody. He's just out throwing shit against the wall, hoping it'll stick, and I'm going to discredit him because I'm Urban Meyer, so I'm going to act like there's no validity to this.
Right. And then today, McMurphy comes out with a new report on Facebook, which is just
he nails him to the wall.
He pretty much makes it clear that these allegations weren't made up. Not only were they not made up, but they have photos, they have text messages
between Urban's wife and the victim.
Yes, Zach
and
Smith's
all
wife.
the other coaches' wives.
I mean,
I love how in the story he goes back to Urban Meyer's book that he wrote in 2008 to talk about how integral all these people are to him and his wife and his program, and how his wife shares all this, everything off the field, and she goes to people and she's so caring, and like pretty much says there's nothing that she knows that I don't know that's going on.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too that's like Urban Meyer is just such a fraud. And I've been saying it for
He's a sleazeball.
I don't feel vindicated by any means, but it's always good to see shitty human beings be exposed.
He's got a punchable face. He always has.
Well, and then
although he looks like he could kind of kick some ass too.
I bet he's a pussy. Urban Meyer is one of those guys that he has been allowed to lie so many times that he feels pretty invincible. I mean, look at all the Florida
stuff. He feels like he's
stuff.
Above, yeah.
You can't tell me Aaron Hernandez was a saint when he was in Gainesville.
Yeah.
He just happened to have what people thought is the next form of Jesus Christ in Tim Tebow to bail him out for all that. They hid behind Tebow.
Yeah, they could use the religious thing with Tebow to cover up the fact that there were a lot of bad guys on that team.
The Pouncey brothers.
Yeah.
Not Percy Harvin, but what was the other kid's name? The other wide receiver.
the
Riley
talking about the quarterback.
Cooper? Talking about Riley Cooper?
Riley Cooper was there. He's
Bad
obviously a
human being.
racist.
What's the Jarrell Jenkins? Janoris Jenkins?
Janoris Jenkins. I don't know.
He's a terrible person, yeah.
Oh, I mean, speaking of the former Cup, I think they won it like 2 or 3 years in a row there at Florida. Like they were just a walking line of criminal activity.
There is enough stuff out there, though, just within this McMurphy report. I would think Ohio State has to at least think about not firing him, maybe, but doing something. Maybe firing him.
I hate the whole Twitter mob thing. That's like all the stuff about looking up people's past, and I mean, like the stuff with Brian Davis and the cotton picking mine and all that stuff. I mean that wasn't the first time he said it, but it was a Twitter mob that basically, did him in. I think, and Russell did him in by not defending him, or at least coming to his defense, or saying you guys are making too much out. Like Russell just. I thought he could have saved Brian Davis if he wanted to, but he didn't.
No, he could have. He definitely could have.
But I mean, that whole that Twitter mob mentality it's very dangerous.
There has to be something to learn from this, though, between him and Art Briles.
But what I'm saying is, I don't know if does he deserve to be fired just based on what is acceptable in our society, or does he deserve to be fired? Or does he deserve not to be fired because there's a Twitter mob mentality out there against him? Like, are they making it worse? Is it really being made out to be worse than it is?
It might depend on how he reacts to this. Like, if he still comes out and denies it and acts like he's this saint of a person still,
that'll show you how delusional he is.
Nah.
This should dominate the day, too. I can't think of anything that's going to happen the rest of the day that's going to top it.
Kudos to Brett McMurphy.
Oh, he's just working his ass off chasing this story.
You post a story
gonna have
on
Brett
Facebook.
McMurphy on to talk about
right?
it?
Well, you know what? If I'm Brett McMurphy, I go on ESPN. You don't have a paying writing gig right now.
Yeah.
If I'm The Athletic, I'm probably like, hey.
I'm surprised they haven't.
We want to hire you immediately.
I'm surprised he wasn't in the ground floor of that when they started hiring national writers.
So they got Feldman and they got Mandel.
I don't know how that stuff works, but it's interesting.
By the way, shout out Jason Kersey.
And especially August 1st. I mean, we're officially in what I consider football season.
I feel like I need to make an apology to Jason Kersey today. Because every time I say anything about people not having hair, he calls me out on it, which I don't have anything against people that don't have hair. Like I've never been like, oh, like to me, like I can get being made fun of for being fat. I can get being made fun of for, not get, but people have like bad skin. Like a lot of acne or something as a kid. I mean, like
I have perfect skin.
To me, being bald doesn't fall into that type of category.
Well, I think it's a self-diagnose thing.
Eddie, would you like to take a shot at that?
That's too easy a word for you to screw up.
Come on, Eddie. Go ahead.
What I'm basically saying is if you shave your head to be bald, I don't think it's kind of like what George was saying in Seinfeld. You don't get to claim that you're bald if you shave your head.
I see, yeah.
Like if you have hair on your head that you shave off,
Well, it turns
to
out
be
that
bald.
guy was going bald because he'd waited so long to let his hair grow back.
I know. That's why
They
Elaine
didn't know
dumped
he was
his
going
ass.
bald. Yeah, she did. But anyway, I was, a lot like the athletic head thing. I think Taylor Cornelius at OSU is a very interesting character because he's balding.
Is he?
Yeah. I don't know if that makes him a better quarterback or a worse quarterback. Can you guys think of any balding quarterbacks?
Matt Hasselback.
Right.
Like in college, though?
Oh, in college? Landry was balding a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's.
Trying to think.
Did Dilfer have a good head of hair when he came out?
I don't think we should reference douchebags on our podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
Where did Trent Dilfer play college
Fresno
ball?
State.
Fresno.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Completely forgot about that.
He was involved in the great Trev Alberts that year when what was it? Was it Trev Alberts himself that got into it with the hair on ESPN?
I can't remember that.
Oh God, who? Kuiper. God, I couldn't get there.
Mel Kiper.
Because he didn't like who they'd picked, and it was either Trev Alberts or he got into it with the GM, the guy that now
No, it was
works
the
for you.
GM. Yeah, it was.
Polian.
Yeah, Bill
Yeah.
Polian.
Yeah.
It would have been like Polian's like first or second draft. Like he'd just come
He
over
was
from
like,
Buffalo.
who is? I mean, it was. They went back. They were going back and forth.
Yep. That was a.
It's like,
that was a
who
great
is
memory.
Mel Kiper?
They got that DJ mix with that.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's right.
The whole pumpkin pie thing with him is weird. Eats a pumpkin pie every day, Mel Kiper.
I just refuse to believe that. I don't think that happens at all.
I think he's so weird that I think that I believe it.
When you have a quirk that strong, like I feel like there's something really wrong with you inside. Like something's happened to you.
He's been stealing money from ESPN for so long. He probably is empty inside.
There's no question, because we all know how much I think of Todd McShay, and I'd listen to Todd McShay 8 days a week over Kuiper.
Yeah.
Don't we just though have that? Isn't it just kind of built in society now? When somebody's been doing something for a long time, everyone just discounts them as being kind of
No,
past
because
their prime,
there's
or
proof that Mel Kiper's
their
stealing
value
money.
is not there.
There's proof that Sherry Cole's stealing money. Who else?
Who's been around for a long time that people still like?
That people still like
Yeah.
and just kind of put up with them?
So you're just saying everybody, if they've been around for a long time,
Well, not
you have to
necessarily.
put up with them.
Not put up with them, but I think that some people do get an easier pass for sure.
What about Al Michaels?
Yeah, I mean,
He borderline.
I
think he still does a good job.
I think Brent Musburger lost a little bit, but I still liked Brent Musburger.
if Musburger wasn't so outspoken about things, he'd probably still have a job.
And you
now-
probably liked Musburger because he was outspoken.
Yeah, and he
He
talks
got-
about gambling.
talk about
I-
gambling.
He got
gambling
more
stuff is
outspoken.
hilarious.
See, like that was the thing with Musburger. Like he aged great, like because he got more belligerent and talked about, it was the
AJ McCarron's
AJ
wife.
McCarron's mom and
Doubling down on
and
Mixon was probably the final straw, or one of the final straws.
didn't he addressed that recently? I thought.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Now he's doing the Raiders, right?
He's going to be the voice of the Raiders. Yeah.
What about Dale Hansen in Dallas?
Yeah, he's got kind of a rebirth.
He brought the heat this week. I really
He
respected
did.
that.
He really did.
What was the subject?
Jerry,
Jerry
Yeah.
Jones.
Anthem.
Oh, about the
it was
yeah.
pretty good. I would check it out.
I'll look it up. I haven't had a chance yet.
But yeah, I mean, I think you're largely right, Carey. But I think there's probably some validity to it. Like as you get older, it's harder and harder to maintain that edge, and secondly, just to continue to be as good as you once were, because complacency is a reality for everybody.
Yeah, but I do think you get kind of this piling on sometimes.
Sure. A perfect example, just retired, Dodgers guy, Vin Scully.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude's a national treasure. I can listen to him call baseball until the day
But
he
you know,
dies.
you don't-
He
was-
was still really, really good.
And he had evolved like he was doing TV and radio.
Yeah.
Like he was so well liked. Like people wanted to hear him on the radio. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like I was watching the OU replay, and I started a thread on the board, and I think it's like 5 pages now because everybody started bitching about the defense. But listening to Toby call the games, and like when I listen to Toby, there's some like Toby's a really good guy. Everybody knows we're friends. Toby, though, like I've never been a fan of the Palace on the Prairie. I just think that's hokey. I think it's like it just paints a picture that's kind of dorky, like and uncool. And the people that tend to embrace that are young, I don't think I'd want to hang out with them. I really don't. Like, anybody that uses the phrase "Palace on the Prairie" that is under the age of 30, I think you're probably a dork.
I don't know. I think people reference that as the stadium.
But why?
But when? But when did that all start?
Well, Toby
started
named it. You didn't start it.
I started it. 100%. 100%.
So that's why you're defending this. Because you feel you had a hand in this.
I think I did.
When did you start it?
2005. When I was a freshman.
TCU? With Paul Thompson as starting quarterback?
So you support Palace on the Prairie?
We always called it the Palace.
Yeah.
I think Toby added the Prairie.
Okay.
But we always called the stadium
but
the Palace.
The Prairie is the part that I think makes it dorky.
Well, that's fine. I mean,
I didn't like Brian Davis always talking about what did he say before games? He like here in the I think he would use Prairie too. I don't like Prairie. I mean, this isn't Kansas. There's no Laura Ingalls Wilder running around.
Whore. I think that Oklahoma is kind of prairie, though. Northern Oklahoma. See,
if you go to like,
are we getting back into is Oklahoma Midwest, Southwest, or South?
Yeah, we've had.
It's
that
kind
debate.
of like that.
See, I mean, like when you're in Oklahoma City and you're in Tulsa. Tulsa's green country. It's hilly. It's rolling hills. Southwest Oklahoma, you have when you get to the Arbuckles, like that's a really pretty part of the state.
Yeah. I would say, is anything north of Perry considered prairie?
See, I'm never
like
out in Alva or Beaver or places. See, to me,
Can't
that
say
is
I've spent too much time in Enid.
Yeah, or Hugo, or I don't really like Woodward. When you drive through Woodward, you just think because sometimes if you go on I-40, you have to drive through Woodward. I mean, maybe you could say Prairie, but I don't really think Prairie. Like to me, Prairie is rolling waves of wheat. Like, where is that? That's in Kansas. Like, go to like Garden City. That's the Prairie.
I would never wish that upon anybody.
What, to go to Garden City?
Yes.
Dodge City, Garden City.
Wherever.
Junior college football.
God.
Garden City. I remember going there to see J.R. Bryant when he committed.
No wonder those people are so depressed.
I was trying to think of this the other day watching Last Chance U. Who was the linebacker for Kansas State that was from Garden City that was an All-American, big old black dude that played for like
are you talking about 2000 back in that era?
Yeah, back in those days.
Was it his number 8, wasn't he?
It would have been the Michael Bishop days.
Yeah, damn, and he was really, really good.
Yeah,
Jeff
he was
Kelly.
Scary. Jeff Kelly, yeah. He was good. And was he related to the 5-star Kelly that flamed out at OU? What was that linebacker's name?
The line? Unless you're throwing some shit down on Caleb Kelly, I'm not sure.
There was a linebacker. There was a 5-star that came in JUCO to OU. And
not Mike Reed.
Mike Reed is who I'm thinking of. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mike Reed. So anyway, way off topic, but the tangents. I'm sorry. Go ahead and check your little box and bitch. I don't care.
Or just stop listening.
So, but the whole Toby thing and watching the replay, I'm a lot better at Josh at getting back on my train of thought. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
That's a fact.
Watching Toby, like, there's some stuff I really like about him, but I think Toby knows he's on radio and he's listening. A lot of his audience are people that are getting ready to die. because he throws a lot of old school stuff in there. Really, who's going to games now with their
I'm keeping
radios?
track for everybody. We've taken a shot at Dylan, Carey's taking shots at Dylan and Toby. We only have a couple more media members in Oklahoma City.
I didn't take a shot at Dylan.
To take shots at.
And frankly, didn't really step back from dissing Jason Kersey. Just said he didn't feel like it was a diss.
Oh, that's a good point,
No,
Josh. That's 3 people.
Whatever.
Let's take shots at people that deserve it, like Dean Blevins.
See, my shots are lovable. Your shot, well, I mean, the
You
Dylan
just
thing
said
is
that
just,
OU's audience is dying.
well, people that listen to games on the radio.
That is fact. Like, I can't remember the last time that I walked in with, or I haven't walked in a game with anybody, but
Toby's going to be
walked
totally
in with my
pissed off
buddies
at me.
that they don't bring their headsets to the game, at least that I know of.
Can you even buy headsets anymore? You have to go like
I
the
think
black
basically
market.
everybody just listens on their iPod, right? Or, I mean, iPhone.
Do you think a lot of people like handed down their headsets to their children and then they left the batteries in them and they got all the acid and they just broke them?
I used to have one of those headsets. My dad used to do that, but I don't.
You know what we should do?
So did mine. My dad did that forever.
We should start
that's part of his game attire.
We could start a little side. I'm giving away the side hustle here, but if you went and bought up, a bunch of radio headsets, like old school, like the big puffy ones with the like antenna coming out the side, you could probably set you up a nice business before games.
I think that they do
Start
have
marketing those to the retirement community.
something like that at like where you buy programs.
Mm-hmm.
Is Toby's big day the pay-per-view game?
But they hire out Fox Sports people, though.
No, but I mean, like...
Oh, you mean that's when people are most likely to be listening?
Yes.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
But since it sounds like I'm crapping on Toby,
I do enjoy.
I'm going to say I really
audio
enjoy
layover though.
I do
Like
enjoy
those the stuff that you watched last night.
like the Kansas State stuff. Like his excitement level is appropriate. It's not
Right.
like crazy Dave Hunziger pistols firing. Like it just sounds like, dude, come on. But Toby's stuff is like genuine. It feels genuine when you listen to it.
Dave Hunziker, 4th guy taking a shot at.
The holy guacamole, that doesn't bother you?
No, it's funny. I remember we were driving up to Manhattan or somewhere last year listening to the OSU game on the radio, and he goes insane.
Every calls, the refs are stupid.
Oh, and every call is like the biggest call of the season.
Does that technically mean that you all are about to die?
No, well, we're listening on TuneIn, an app.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
depending on how it's delivered changes the story. Okay,
But
it's not about
you're not gonna go to the game and listen to it on your cell phone, are you? I mean, it's gonna be way behind.
Yeah, no. Like it's. I mean, I won't lie though. It's a little like you've now told me my dad's gonna die, and that's a little hurtful. And I'm gonna try to move past that. But
He's dying. I mean, he's closer to it. Everyone's dying. Your dad's just closer to it than most. I mean, well, not most, but us.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I thought he was gonna live forever, Carey. You've shattered some dreams.
I
here.
mean, I don't want my parents to die. I know it's gonna happen someday.
Yeah. Oh no. Laney is very interested in like heaven and hell right now, and we have to have those conversations. So that's very weird. Not to tell your 4-year-old too much about like the inevitability of death, but at the same time, like I've always been like I want to be honest with her. So there's an interesting line you got to walk there.
When you had to put the dog down, was she aware of that and all that?
Yeah, she was like we told like dog's name was Sydney. Sydney went to heaven. So like every once in a while, it's like she'll check in. She's like, "So will I see Sydney in heaven?" I'm like, "Yeah, baby, that's a long time away. That's like, don't have to worry about that." So you kind of it's like I said, it's a really tough line because I want to be real with her, but at the same time, I don't want to freak out my 4-year-old and like have her wearing like black and become a goth in like 3rd grade. So.
I would have said if I were there, I would say, "Well, Laney, your mom's not a very good driver, so maybe."
God.
Oh, Tiffany just got on the list too.
But
This list is growing by the minute.
Seriously, so now Carey is dissed 4 people, has murdered my father and my wife.
How did I become the Eddie of this podcast?
You
all of a sudden?
really
don't know.
did.
Sad.
This is what happens when Eddie, you contribute to the show.
See?
Someone's got to fill the gap.
I think it's just that I have to raise my level of evil to match Eddie's. He's raising my game.
But he's not evil today.
Oh, he's evil.
We can be.
He called Urban Meyer a pussy.
Urban Meyer is 100% a loser.
Did you
You
feel like
also
as
called
soon
Laura
as-
Ingalls Wilder a whore.
Sounds like a whore.
Wait a second. Did you call her a whore and not actually know who she was?
No, she's a writer, right? I have no idea.
She lived in the Little House on
Little
the
House on the
Prairie.
Prairie.
Yeah, I don't read that shit.
What about the TV show?
Didn't watch it.
From the 60s.
Yeah, I definitely
70s.
didn't watch it. I was born in A7.
This is a key question. So we know that Eddie's not a big movie guy. Eddie, when is the last time you read a book?
Not about sports.
Oh, not about sports? I don't know. Probably
Okay,
high
take
school?
both.
Probably high school or college. Probably college.
For sports
never-
as well?
No, I never really read any of the books in college, though.
I can believe that, Eddie. I really, really do.
Reading assignments weren't exactly my forte.
You and LeVar Burton weren't hanging out? I got you.
No. I was
You
part
and-
of the
you and
Reading
a-
Rainbow, though.
You and a teleprompter weren't tight.
I mean, yeah, I read off a teleprompter every once in a while for news stuff, but I don't know. That's a good question. I can't remember. Maybe like a book about Ronald Reagan, like sophomore year of college.
Really? Wow, that's not where I thought that answer would go, but I love it.
Yeah, something like
Not
that.
for any political thing.
I took a
just
bunch
the
of
fact that
Adderall
it's
and knocked it
interesting.
out. Read it in like a 400-page book in like a day.
I don't. Yeah, I know that's not. I know you're not joking too.
No,
That's
yeah.
scary.
I'm not fake.
Okay,
I'm not
so,
playing a character here.
So media availability. Let's get back to that. It's coming up. Now, actually, before we get to that, since we're 45 minutes into the podcast or whatever, 50, I don't know.
We could wrap up the championship barbecue.
ChampUBBQ
That's what I
did happen.
That's what I was getting
Let's
to.
do it.
So I think it was going in. You guys weren't expecting a lot of fireworks. Coming out, not a lot of fireworks. Is that how you still feel about it, Josh?
It is. I mean, I'll be honest. I thought a little more would happen. I thought you'd see a couple of guys maybe in the 2020 class kind of make that move. I was watching Devon Graham. He was a guy that I thought could be on board. Michael Henderson's another good one, the athlete out of Dallas. But I got into this in chat on Tuesday night. For those listening, we have a Tuesday night chat on the site every week where we, I come and do recruiting questions or we talk team stuff, whatever everybody wants to talk about. Well, anyway, we got into a little bit last night, and somebody was asking, like, I think they'd had a few days to reflect, and is this as disappointing as it feels? It's not. I think everybody with the spring game just got it in their head that every big event's going to produce 6 or 7 commitments, and it's just that's not realistic. It's not going to work that way.
And you didn't have a spring game before the ChampUBBQ, so maybe a lot of those commitments would have come then a year ago.
Oh, sure. I mean, obviously one of the guys that we all thought was going to commit was Jeff Carter, and then there was the whole, we can get into that whole story. But when you look, and I said it last night, I bet you money when we look back, whether it's in the class of 19 or 20 or add them together, you're going to look at this day and say, okay, there was 4 guys that were there that were uncommitted that ended up part of Oklahoma's signing class. Like that's a great weekend by any measure. If you can get 4 commitments out of, 15, 20 uncommitted guys, that's a number you'll take every time. So, like I said, I get why people are a little disappointed because maybe it didn't hit the numbers that they started to become accustomed to. But at the same time, I think you're going to start to get some good news out of it this week. And then I think moving forward, Oklahoma's got plenty of momentum with a lot of guys, including Michael Henderson, who kind of told me, a decision's not that far off for me. And I think it's pretty clear that Oklahoma leads for him.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Henderson because he did make one visit to Texas yesterday. Finally picked up the offer from the Horns. See if that changes anything because with OU, it's just kind of athlete. You don't know where the heck he fits in because they have 2 running backs. If Texas were to promise something to him in terms of a running back spot. I wonder if that will change anything.
Let me ask you, any read for anybody, any of you guys? I'm thinking of like far off guys like Woody Washington that came in, Derek Green. Any read on those guys about how much this weekend kind of really helped with them too? Because I mean, Green's been a guy that committed, decommitted, committed. It seemed like, at least from his tweet, that he really enjoyed his visit.
Yeah, I think when you get those out-of-region guys, they feel very at home at a spot like this, just going back to the people that I've talked to who were at 2017 and 2018 in terms of the class. It makes you feel at home. You know, it takes away all your worries that you might have had when you get in that environment. You get to know recruits, and Marcus Hicks is not someone who's from out of the region, but Marcus Hicks is someone who had never met Spencer Rattler in his life before Saturday.
Yeah.
And he mentions, like, I knew of the legend. He said, I knew of the legend of Spencer Rattler, but now I finally got to meet him and see how down to earth he is and how excited I am that he's part of my class. And that's what this event has really been about, is that building those relationships, not only for the current class, but for that future class, but even with the current class. If you look at Stacey Wilkins and Jacoby Jones and Shimon Cooper, now we don't know if the numbers are going to work out that all three can end up being Sooners, but there's a possibility you could get all three of them, and you would point back to that when you start talking about next year's events. Like, remember, these guys were brought in. We didn't know what the heck was going to happen, but they ended up part of the 2019 class.
That was kind of what I was wondering, is kind of the misconception as far as is the ChampUBBQ turning more into a you're already in the family, quote unquote,
it's
family.
like a family reunion more than a recruiting event.
More of a end of the year celebration. You're part of this commitment group. We're going to invite 6-7 other guys that we really, really want to come and be part of this as well, as opposed to the spring game where it's more of a, I guess, what I would consider more of a recruiting atmosphere, I guess.
And that's sort of what we've seen with the first and the third. And maybe the big difference from last year's was Lincoln Riley was just taking over.
Yeah.
And they only had 12 commits instead of the 16 they had. Because when I talked to Carey Cooks about that last week, that's what he mentioned. This wasn't a recruiting event. This was a bonding, building relationship type event. We saw that with the first year, because really outside of like Kenneth Murray and maybe giving the offer to Patrick Fields, not too much newsy stuff happened there, and it seems like it's sort of the same thing that happened this last weekend.
And maybe not so much with the players, even just so much as with the parents too. I mean, you look at all the tweets coming out from Kelvin Hicks, is that Marcus's dad?
Yes.
And then of course Jack Bridges, putting a lot of stuff out there. But is there any bigger fan of Lincoln Riley than Kelvin Hicks, you think? I mean, my goodness, the stuff that he says, and I mean, he could not say anything more positive about OU in the program.
And then, having OU President Jim Gallogly there, I think...
Oh, you're calling him Jim now, huh? You guys tight already?
That's right, we're on a first-name basis. But having the president there, you can tell that meant a lot to the parents. I think the recruits sort of understood it, but those parents like, wow, that's amazing that he showed up at something like this.
And through a water balloon. I mean, can you imagine?
I think and partook in all the fun.
That
wasn't just like
that wasn't a throw. That was a launch.
Yeah, he played some ball back in his day.
Mission was how we phrased it this morning, because he wasn't standing in the back just lobbing it. He was running at those kids, ready to get them.
You know how many people I fired since I got here?
When I first heard about it, and for those, it was one of those things that I put in our notes thread on Saturday, and I felt weird doing it because it wasn't really recruiting related, but I was like, this is just so interesting. You kind of got to share it. But when somebody told me, I really thought he had the wrong person. So I had to ask 2 other people before I was like, okay, I'm pretty confident about this. This is what actually happened. Like, no way is the school's president out there chucking water balloons at high school kids. And sure as the world, I mean, everybody's like, yeah, he was just out there goofing around, having a good time with everybody.
And then he's standing next to Spencer Rattler in the group photo.
And it just, guys, you're there. I mean, you were obviously there when he was announced and when he went through his first, Regents meeting and that whole thing. That hasn't been his image from everything I've
He's been very stoic, yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought that was really cool. A pretty cool move by him. And, I don't know how much, Lincoln Riley had to do with that, or if he came to Lincoln and kind of wanted to be involved. I don't know how that works, but
I'm going to say Lincoln went to him.
That would be my guess. I think you're right, but obviously Lincoln's probably like, if you just show up, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd imagine it was one of those.
Be here.
I'll help you out any way I can. Oh, well, if you don't mind, we're having a big barbecue on the 28th or whatever it was, 27th. Why don't you drop by?
And it shows, Lincoln got, I think, the top end of raise that we thought he would get. Of course, I don't know. I never asked Joe C. I don't know that Joe C. would have to run a salary increase by a college president.
For who?
For Lincoln Riley.
Oh.
To go to 4.8 like he did or whatever it was.
Well, it's approved by the Board of Regents who are the boss of the president, right?
Yeah.
So,
but those things are discussed.
Yeah.
You have agents that are part of the process, and then
for sure.
I'm kind of curious, who does Joe have to go to and say, hey, what do you think about this? Surely he knows what his budget is. He looks at it and says, if we don't have this much, we need to get donors to commit to this and that.
Yeah.
So, I think probably James Gallogly was probably involved somewhat, knowing what the pay was going to be.
I would imagine so.
But I think it's good that it just shows that you have a new president. Not just unique to James Gallogly. When new presidents come in, a lot of the VPs get blown out. And so some of that's been happening, and it does kind of give you pause well, what does this guy think about football? And obviously we know that he stands behind football now.
He's a football fan.
He's a football guy. I don't know if he's a football guy.
He's a football fan.
Yeah. I don't want to insult.
With possibly a football.
I don't want to insult the Stoolies out there by calling him a football guy.
He's not a true football guy, unless he takes part in the Oklahoma drill on the first day of practice on Saturday. Then we can. Then
he's a football guy.
We can officially say he's a football guy if that's the case.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you guys this about the barbecue. Guys that you didn't know maybe where they stood or where OU stood that you learned more about. Josh, you can go first if you want.
That's fine. The first one that comes to mind for me is Kendrick Blackshire, the 2021 kid from Mesquite Horn. I know that's a ways off for everybody to think about, but I wasn't really sure how he's got someone on his staff that we've known for a long time, the staff there at Horn. We've known a long time, and I wasn't sure if him kind of coming was more just that guy being, having a lot of association with Oklahoma and, there being a connection there more so than the kid's personal interest. But talking to him, he really loved it. He spent a lot of time with Caleb Kelly. I think Caleb really made a big impression on him, which, we talked about it in our little group DM. That's no surprise. Caleb's just one of those kind of personalities. He's going to make people feel at home and feel good about Oklahoma. So I think that's one that sticks out to me. I'm trying to think of another one that really catches my Bob, maybe you've got one, and then I'll see if I can come up with something that I like the answer on.
I like Alec Bryant because when I looked at his size for 2020, I didn't see defensive end in OU system. So when he said Tim Kish and he talked about being the 3-4 outside backer, the jack spot's oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes complete sense for what OU would be looking for in terms of the 2020 class. It's clear he loved his first trip to Norman. And I thought maybe OU would push a little bit for one or two commitments from the 2020 kids because it sounded like there were a few that were ready to make that leap if they got that little nudge, but it didn't sound like that was the case Saturday. But when you look at some of those kids like Bryant, like Andrew Rame, who came back from Broken Arrow, like DJ Graham, you're going to see quite a few of the 2020 commits that turned out last Saturday.
Bob, you brought up a name and a really good one in Andrew Rame. Talking to him a little bit afterward and talking to some people, I had almost started to feel okay, maybe this is slipping away from Oklahoma a little bit. But talking to him, I don't get that. I think Oklahoma's in very, very good shape, and I think they really did a good job kind of bringing him. making him feel like even though you're not committed to us anymore, you're still kind of in the group here.
Yeah, the thing is, they missed out on so many kids because of all those last-minute cancellations, so it lost that feel of a mega thing. But for the kids who were there, it's going to be a special thing. It was more intimate, a lot more one-on-one time, not only with Lincoln Riley, but position coaches too, and the recruits, getting to know all of them better. So if you showed up, it's going to make an impression, and you don't care what the outside people said, that, it was a big bust and people didn't turn out. If you were there, you know what went down, and I think OU will show it with the 2020 class.
Jeffrey Carter, go. I'll just say it that way.
Never seen anything like it.
I'll start out by saying, and this is probably pissing people off, but I don't think it's this big conspiracy like people think it is. Now, was there some shadiness? Absolutely.
It was a family that didn't want to tell people, that couldn't say no.
I don't know if there was this, quote unquote bagman or whatever that a lot of people want to believe, though.
Yeah, it's a little sour grapey.
The thing is, it's back-to-back now. Eric Young puts the Sooners in a fake top 3 earlier in the month.
That's true.
Then Jeffrey Carter said he's coming to the ChampU event when he already has the commitment video done.
Yeah.
That was the
Aggies.
That is shady.
When it looked like not just OU coaches, but OU 2019 recruits throughout the week seemed to be getting the impression Carter was coming back into the fold based on all their quote tweets and subtweets and things of that nature. That's where it got a little off track from what you usually see.
And I guess that's the other thing. I personally didn't like how OU handled that.
No, I didn't think it was.
I don't think it's the best look. Because if you're already up there, and which OU is recruiting at that level right now, him, just move on.
Now, they did do this before, if you remember Cale Gundy with Creed Humphrey, and then that turned out okay because Creed flipped back. But this is not the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I
thought Cale's was a little more veiled than this one was.
Yeah.
Oh, about the Creed Humphrey thing?
Yeah, this seemed more direct. And it wasn't even about what was said initially. It's about what got retweeted that I think I was like, oh, that got ugly.
Well, and, I said that I think as coaches, you have a little bit of responsibility because, like, Lincoln Riley has brought so many fans, OU fans, to the internet that wouldn't have been there before because of the eyeballs and the emojis and all that stuff. And a lot of these fans are, they're there to help because they think they're trying to help or they're helping recruiting or whatever. I'm not trying to be disingenuous, but
that's what they believe their purpose is.
I think so. Like they're very ardent fans and they are very emotional fans. And I think when you do that and you send out a tweet like that, it almost gives people...
stokes the fire.
Yeah, it gives them the feeling like, oh, it's okay for me to say whatever I want because the coaches hate this kid. And people did.
And
you don't want that.
Something that is a hill that I will die on. Don't do that. I just don't understand it. I really don't. How a grown man can continuously take shots at a kid publicly. A guy that they don't even know. And if he would have committed to OU, it'd be the exact opposite. So let's not act like you actually care about the kid.
Yeah.
Like that's what it comes down to.
You only care about the kid if he chooses your school.
Right.
I think that's something recruits hopefully they understand. And recruits should understand this
true.
too.
That's their fault if they don't.
Recruits should understand this too. All those people that are cheering you for committing, they're going to be on message boards cursing you if you don't play well.
Oh yeah.
And they'll be the first ones to want to yank you out of a game if you have a bad play.
They don't care about you, the individual, as much as they care about their team having more points than the other team at the end of the day.
When it comes down to it, recruits are cattle to fans.
Right. They care what you can do to help their team.
Yeah.
If you can't do anything, they don't care.
So now do we have to get into the street agent business now that we've done this? We put this PSA out there that we do care about you.
I'm not saying that.
Why do you want to just set me off? Why do we have to get into the street agent thing? I've been so friendly today. And after kind of a shitty start to the day, had the podcast started late because of me. I mean, we don't need that in our lives. I do want to say the Jeffrey Carter and the Eric Young thing. I know people have kind of connected the dots on that a little bit. The first thing with Eric Young did not indicate to Oklahoma that anything was happening. Oklahoma was like, "This is bull. He's going to A&M."
Yes.
Like they knew that. So,
but the fans
Eric
weren't.
Young was only trying to fool the fans.
And it worked.
And there's no doubt. But because I think everyone is pretty. And I will say, talking to everyone that I've talked to about that situation, you talk about his trainers, his high school coaches, even his family was like, "Don't do this. Don't do this. This is going to look bad. You're going to piss people off. Don't do this." And he did it anyway. So, that's fine. What was funny is when the Jeff Carter's thing started coming out, I had a couple of A&M sources that were like, "Do you think this is Eric Young again?" And I was like, if it is, it's a lot more elaborate because like Bob referenced and like I just kind of alluded to, that this isn't just, stuff we're hearing. This was pretty concrete. The first person I heard Jeff Carter might be committing last weekend from was an OU commitment.
Right.
And so, I mean, like, this wasn't a kid that was just messing with the fans. He was giving indications to the staff. He was giving indications to other guys in the class. Like, there was a lot of smoke to that fire. And I can tell you that the site that broke that video, Texags, actually recorded that video like a month ago and thought they were going to have to scrap it this time last week. They thought it was going to go to waste because they thought he was going to Oklahoma. So, like, anybody that thought, like, oh, that was all elaborate ploy to trick everybody, and then he had the video ready, Texags didn't even know they were going to need to use that video until all the tire stuff started coming out Saturday morning.
I've never heard flat tire. That is a new one. And if you look at his timeline, I did for fun on Sunday, the first few messages, "Oh, we hope you get it fixed and you can get back to Norman as soon as possible." But then after 5,
"You're full of shit, kid."
And some of it from the same people.
And Eddie's dead right
those
about
people
this.
deserve it.
No matter what you say and how clever and funny it may seem, and like I'm not even gonna lie, some of the stuff I'll be like, "Oh, that's kind of funny." You just look like a dick. Like there's no good. You're never gonna come out as the good guy on that. No matter how shitty what you think the kid is, and even if you're right, he's a 17-year-old kid. You did stupid ass things when you were that age too. You just got to let it roll off your back.
I wish they would uninvent DSLR video. All the stupid commitment videos.
Oh.
That's my get off my lawn for the day. There's just nothing. I mean, they're all the same. I'm working out in the gym, and I'm changing directions on the field, and I'm going to put on this shirt at the end.
But there's going to be a tight shot right there at the end where you can see the rubberized grass fly up a little bit because they cut so close and so hard in their field workout. But it's going to go in slow motion.
You don't understand the struggle I went through to get here.
The grind.
What I love is the never-ending, nobody believed in me. I've only got 74 offers. Stop. Just stop talking. Like, stop it.
It's like the 5-star that is still being disrespected.
I mean, look, there's so much, and that's what I worry about, like, for coaches. There's so much ass-kissing that goes on these days because of social media. Everyone's kissing your ass. Even the fan reporters are kissing your ass. They're making commitment videos for you. Like, at what point do these kids just become unreachable? To the point, like, your whole life, everyone has just kissed your ass. Like, it's so much worse than it ever was before.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's so stupid. You play football. Like, let's not act like you've cured cancer or something.
Well,
like,
you might play
football, and you play it well. That's awesome.
You might play football. We don't know. You may never start. You may be Stan Von Taylor. He was at the 5-star challenge.
You might be Adrian Peterson, but you also might be Jeremy Calhoun.
Yeah.
You might not academically qualify.
Seen that before.
Is that happening less, though, don't you think?
I do feel like it's happening less. Like, you have to really, really, really be in a bad way.
They've really learned how to cheat.
Well, and I think kids are they know that they need to take care of their shit freshman and sophomore year.
That's the biggest change.
I think that's
the biggest
probably
change.
the biggest thing is that kids aren't. I mean, they understand from the time they enter high school that to get to the next level or get where you want to be, you have to put in a little effort.
As a
Not a whole lot of effort, just a little.
Yeah.
As a
Like
high school,
literally turn papers in. They don't even have to be the right answers. You probably are step ahead of everybody else.
Is everything like an essay now?
I have no idea.
it just felt like as a high school coach, when a kid was in his junior year, so you started getting them ready, recruiting process. Now you get them ready as a freshman, and so many of these kids have a better awareness of what they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem like. Although I will say, when you watch Last Chance U, you realize there are a lot of idiots out there. But I mean, a lot of those kids, and maybe it's just that thing, but the thing about Last Chance U this last season, there wasn't a lot of stupid kids. Like that East Mississippi school, like they literally had to walk kids to class and give them a pencil or a pen, and you could tell they were just dumb, like stupid, like not bad people. There were some of those, but like in this last episode, you just had a bunch of bad people. I mean, not a bunch. Some of those guys were likable. But probably two of the biggest knuckleheads that we've ever seen on that. The quarterback is the biggest knucklehead that's ever been on that season.
Has there ever been a guy that did more harm to his recruiting world than Malik Henry?
No.
I
mean, John Franklin III, I was shocked when he called his coach a what do you call him, a dumb or something like that on camera.
I don't know. I haven't.
And Auburn still took him.
Eddie, did you see the first two seasons, or have you just not? Or
No, No, I've watched.
Okay,
it.
that's what Carey's talking about. He's talking about the dude at East Mississippi that went to Auburn and cussed
John
out.
Franklin III.
Oh, yeah.
The real idiot.
That's right.
I mean,
but this
he was
guy,
the biggest idiot before Billy Henry.
He's in Canadian League now.
He's just everything. Like when I talk about quarterbacks that don't want to talk to the media, they don't want to be in front of people, they don't want to like. You can't be that and be a quarterback. Like you need to go find a different position or think about baseball. Like, I mean, it's just, you can't be the aloof guy. It doesn't work like that. And him, not only is he aloof, he's got a shitty attitude, and that just doesn't work I don't think there's any position in sports that you just have to be a leader. At quarterback, you just have to be. Like you can't be half-assed about it. You've got to be the guy that's there early and putting in the work. And
yeah, you can't be a knucklehead
dude.
and be a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, congratulations, Johnny Manziel, because Jimbo Fisher is getting ready. Based on Last Chance U history, Jimbo Fisher is going to recruit some quarterbacks there that make you look like Tom Brady as far as attitude and work ethic.
I thought we were congratulating him for being the starter on Friday.
No. For the Montreal Alouettes.
Time is ticking on comeback season.
And
rehab season.
Rehab will be coming soon. Off the
I love
wagon
his
will be coming
comments
soon.
that like he couldn't. That it surprised him that he couldn't play in the NFL hungover all the time like he did in college. Like, really? What planet were you on, dude? Everybody told you don't do that shit.
We didn't play the audio here, I don't believe, but the Cliff Kingsbury on the Comeback Season podcast.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that?
Yeah.
That was really good. Talking about how they would cover up for him and stuff. That was pretty awesome.
They couldn't find him
Yeah.
like before games, like late at night and stuff.
So good.
Eddie will enjoy this. I'm sure you saw this. You see Josh Rosen's comments yesterday?
No, I didn't.
No.
He basically, Baker Mayfield is tearing it up in camp right now at Cleveland, and it's starting to get the media. And by the way, Hard Knocks is going to be just off.
Less than a week away.
It's going to be incredible.
I love the narrative that has formed, though, that people are really surprised that Baker Mayfield has been throwing the ball well.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's really starting to start a buzz is starting, I should say, about Baker being the starter now because he's playing so well in practice. Well, he's the first pick. He's the quarterback. He's first-round pick. Everybody's talking about him as possibly being a starter. I think people in Arizona were trying to start the same storyline with Josh Rosen.
They're holding Sam out.
And so Sam Rosen met with the media, and he's like, Oh, God, no. Sam Bradford is unbelievable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, I've never seen a quarterback like this. He's basically saying, this is my first year here, and we go out there and practice. This is his first year here, and we go out there and I feel like he's been here for 4 years.
It's funny.
Like he's picked it up. Like I don't like because he's a smart guy,
Right.
Yeah.
And Sam's a smart guy too.
Oh, yeah. They could definitely do work on an ACT or SAT.
So I mean,
Between them.
I'm sure that's probably one thing that Rosen I thought he was going to be a shit, when he went in there, and he was going to probably be a dick to Sam. And
From all
think, like,
reports
this is
I've
my
heard,
job.
he's a pretty cool guy.
But I think the fact that Sam's intelligent and he's intelligent and
There's
Sam's a
little
good
respect
quarterback and
factor
he's a good quarterback.
between the two.
Yeah, I bet that keeps him from being kind of a little bastard.
I could see that.
Especially with the
He's an
way
interesting guy.
the way he came off at the draft, talking about he would make all of them regret.
Yeah.
that, that wasn't the best impression to make.
And then he had to come back the next day and say, well, it wasn't really 9 teams because only 3 drafted quarterbacks ahead of me.
I do know one thing about Josh Rosen, and it's he won't be how to say this?
Is it about women?
No, not. He won't be asking God to watch over him. He's an atheist.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Is he publicly an atheist?
I don't know.
Is this behind the scenes stuff?
No, I think I've read articles before about that.
Yeah,
He doesn't believe in God?
That sounds familiar.
How does religion always get involved in our podcast every week?
Okay, but can we rate the scale of how much Eddie going into what you were going to tell him Josh Rosen had to say about Sam, how much it deviated from what I think Eddie was expecting to hear?
Yeah,
I feel like Eddie
you
was
were ready
getting
to go down
head
and-
to Phoenix and kneecap somebody.
I was ready to go in on him, but we'll just throw out that he's an atheist. We'll settle for that.
Yeah, Eddie kind of sparked up. He's like, oh, really? He's talking about my boy?
Well, he knows.
It surprised me when I hadn't heard that either. It surprises me that he was that complimentary. Sam's going to go down as one of the all-time, just like not his fault. Things should have been so much better in his career.
Yeah. And
I mean, 'cause-
it's almost to the point where
It's after they win the Super Bowl this year.
it's to the point where I still cannot root for Jared Goff to be a good quarterback because I still want the Rams, all their quarterbacks to suck. Just
At least
'cause-
they're not St. Louis anymore.
Yeah.
You can clearly separate the two.
Can you imagine if he would have started in Arizona with what's his name, Bruce Arians?
Oh, it would have been great.
He'd have been unbelievable in that offense.
Can't complain about the bank account, though.
You know, I'm going to root for Kirk Cousins to suck this year, too.
Yeah, but Minnesota?
Yeah.
That'd be all right. Not a Minnesota fan anymore. It was a good run last
Yeah, I
year,
kind
though.
of like rooting for Minnesota.
What do you do
Still
with
got
your
Blake Bell,
gear
I guess.
after
I know
Sam
that offends Bob
changes
as a
towns,
Bears
Eddie?
fan.
Got Blake up there. Say what, Josh?
I said, what do you do with your gear after like Sam changes? I mean, do you have like the Viking helmet? Do you watch on Sundays?
No. I'll save the shirts.
Okay.
So
If I
you
have any
still get
shorts,
stuff from him?
I'll throw away. No, I haven't. I haven't got any Cardinal stuff.
That relationship
need to
just
request.
continues to deteriorate, doesn't it?
No, we hung out.
So you're still texting and still boys?
I'm not going to confirm or deny.
He doesn't
I don't-
like it
I don't
when you
kiss
talk
and
about
tell.
it.
He's not a name dropper.
So
I think Eddie deserves a lot of credit for that because that's a long time strong relationship, and we make a lot more out of it than he ever does.
Has anyone in the Bradford family ever request that you not speak about him publicly?
No. I don't think so.
Like, hey, dial it back.
It's
on
never
the
gotten
Sam
back
talk.
to me.
I
I
did-
don't talk about it a lot, though.
I
either.
did love that Royce Young tweet that he had recently.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Tucker's.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Okay.
It's just funny that like he hangs out with Russell Westbrook and like the biggest of the biggest NBA stars all the time.
Sam does?
No,
Royce.
Royce.
Oh,
He's
Royce.
always around him, interviewing him.
Yeah, but
on
he's an OU
ESPN,
guy,
does
yeah.
ESPN stuff, and then he fangirls out about seeing Bradford at Tucker's.
I think that'd be cool, though. I mean, because I can fangirl out about the Thunder. I feel like I can kind of be a fan of the Thunder because I don't cover them. It's not my job. It's not my profession. And I'm not even going to sit here and act like I I'm doing journalism on the radio, so I don't care.
I mean, I took pictures of Russell Westbrook at a party, so I'm not going to say anything either.
So, I mean, that's got to be kind of cool for Royce that he can actually, like, you know, he's in the media, he's doing a great job, but he can actually still be a fan.
Absolutely.
It hasn't been beaten out of him.
I always think,
like
too, that there's a certain level of, it almost becomes fake if you're just straight down the middle all the time. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
there's certain levels to it, of course, but people take it to the extreme. But, I mean, I'm not going to be...
Well, it's always that thing when you meet people you don't know them or you haven't met them, like, they're always really curious, like, so how big a fan are you? Like, do you... Like, it's like they want to know...
Yeah. Like, I went to OU, but I can clearly divide it.
Yeah, it's
not like I went to school for 4 years and never cheered for him at a game or a basketball event or something.
You know, I never sat in the student section ever.
Really?
No. Because my best friend...
Not only have I sat in the student section, I've been kicked out of the student section.
No,
I've been amazingly drunk in the student section.
My best friend...
Newsflash for people that are going to games this year in the student section, they have a non-smoking policy.
They've always had a non-smoking policy.
Well, it's just good to remind people.
They're enforcing it now?
I guess they're enforcing it. They were in mid-2005.
No, but my best friend had his family... We always sat together ever since I was little. So I had 11th row, 50-yard line tickets. I wasn't sitting in the student section.
You weren't melting in the sun?
Well, I mean, that would happen. But this was all before the east stands were redone. I mean...
They still have bleachers in the south end zone?
Like no.
65?
No.
It's terrible.
They had a track around the field.
Yeah, like Kansas.
Oh, Jesus.
All mine were in 01. Like, I was there for the North Carolina game when Tommy Harris had the big play to start the game. And the one...
Oh, the Mexican national game or whatever that was.
Yeah.
What was that, Hispanic Bowl or...
Yeah, that was a weird game. Yeah, everybody... I came home with like 12 sombreros, which feels a little racist.
So we were also
now.
Culturally insensitive.
Yes, yeah, really.
I remember
bad.
I remember that game. I sat next to Tom Deanhart in the press box, and I thought to myself, like, "Oh, I made it."
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Wow, he went and joined the Big Ten
network.
Yeah,
does he still do that?
Well, it was a smart move because he was working for the Sporting News, and they went belly up pretty much after he did that.
Talk about nerding out when he was working for Yahoo. Like I geeked out meeting him a little bit because I read the Sporting News and I was like 10. Like I've always thought he was the man. So, but no. And then I guess the one that really sticks out is the L. Roberson game, the Kansas State game that got crazy there at the end when Hybl got hit and went to the wrong sideline. It was the whole thing.
38-37, right?
7, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, he got. That's the most impressive game. One of the most impressive games I've ever seen a quarterback play.
What game?
Kansas State, Oklahoma.
2001.
He literally got murdered in that game. Like every time he dropped back, and
that was Phil Bennett, wasn't it? K-State.
Yeah,
Phil Bennett was at K-State
every freaking play.
He beat the crap out of him.
He got just hammered every time he threw the ball. The thing was, every time he threw the ball, it went for 80 yards. I mean, it was an incredible game to watch. But
because they were just going zero.
Yeah.
Like it was just pure man outside, and if I guess it would have been like Antoine Savage and that crew.
Yeah,
like if they
were going zero, and OU was going empty, and it was just like, we're running our receivers down the field. Can you get to Nate Hybl before he gets the ball off? And a lot of times they did, but a lot of times they didn't.
Carey, would you say that was the worst offensive line of the Bob Stoops era? That 01 group was bad.
I mean, I wouldn't. I think Lincoln Riley's first year was the worst.
Oh, you might be right. Yeah.
Well, 09, because of the injuries, was not good. I mean, other than having Trent Williams.
Stacy McGee started the game. That blows my mind.
Brody Eldridge was the starting center at one point during that season.
Stacy McGee is still one of the better NFL players of the Bob Stoops era.
Yeah.
And that still blows my mind.
And hardly played a lick at Oklahoma.
He just
he just didn't. I wouldn't call him a major difference maker. Like you can't. Like I wrote that article about Neville on Monday. He didn't even cross my mind when I was thinking of successful defensive linemen. I mean, really, there's only three you think of. I mean, Tommy, Dusty, and Gerald.
Yep.
I mean, Lynn Magruder was really good.
Mm-hmm. Pre-injury,
Remy
McFarland.
Odell was probably better than he got. I mean, Remy Odell was good in college, but then when he played with the Cowboys and the Saints as long as he did, you're like, damn, I can't believe Remy's still playing.
CJ Ayu was a good one. He was a good player.
Yeah, but defensive end, I'm thinking tackles.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, CJ was great. I mean,
Adrian Taylor before he got hurt.
He could have been.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, think about, we're talking about Stacy. Would you consider his career that different from, say, Casey Walker at Oklahoma?
No, not at all.
And that just shines a light on it.
I wouldn't even say he had as good a career as Lynn Magruder had.
Oh, no. I'd agree. Magruder gets forgotten a lot.
And, I mean, before that, you think about Stoops first. Guys, like Corey Klein was a really good player. I remember Jeff Fisher. He was kind of a holdover. I think he only played 99, maybe. Like he was a Blake holdover. Ryan Fisher. Jeff Fisher's a coach. Yeah, Ryan Fisher was really good.
Ryan Fisher had a little, what's his name? God. He had a great look to him.
Like Carrot Top or something?
Just the red hair, long hair.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
That's probably back in your heyday.
Oh, yeah.
Little kid. You
2000? 8th grade?
12.
I was 8th grade? Yeah, for sure.
By the way, I started booking travel this week. It's when I have to look at everybody's birth dates and stuff.
Kobe Tillman. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Oh,
okay.
They kind of look like the same guy. I like
he's a wild looking guy. He's got
I'm a big fan.
Is his hair long right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really long. He has the beard grown out.
See, that's what a proper long hair should look like, not Breckenhager.
Oh, yeah.
Kobe is a Viking.
The Breckenhager
looks
thing
looks bad.
And, guys, I'm just going to tell you, as you go forward covering Kobe Tillman, be very careful what you say. That man's dad is a bad, bad dude.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, huge mountain of a human being.
Right, not a bad guy.
No.
He is a mountain of a guy.
So
bad,
I don't have
like,
to worry about getting
No.
physically assaulted.
Yes, if you saw him.
But if you need somebody to be physically assaulted,
He could do it for you.
I would consult him first.
He'd be on my short list of phone calls. Yeah.
They look like some ass kickers.
And he looked like he was at Shane Beamer's house, so it seems like they know what they want to do with him.
Yeah, I
You
saw
want to
that.
get it, Eddie? Yeah, there you go. Phone's ringing, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that that was another kind of a clue to me that football season's right around the corner when I get flight info from you.
Yeah.
And I have something to bring up if we're wrapping this up, so I'll wait until the end. On Iowa.
Teaser.
That has been
Des Moines?
just Iowa in general. That is mind-blowing and has me creeped out a little bit about going up there.
I mean, I hit a deer coming back from a game there. That's as bad as it gets. I hate that place.
People are going missing at a rapid rate in Iowa right now.
Really?
Yes.
Sex trade?
Oh, yeah. There's
just talk
been a
about it.
couple
Let's
of
get into
girls. And
It's unconfirmed, but there's been 48 missing persons in the last 14
So you're
days.
saying UFO.
I don't know. The
But
Molly.
this is total truth.
There's a thread about it on the
Movement
board,
go.
and we talked about it a couple days ago. Just in that the Molly girl that's missing right now, she just disappeared after a jog. She's
I don't like talking about this stuff. It gives me the skeevies.
It's really crazy. I don't know what we're missing here, but there's something going on in Iowa.
See, here's the thing. This is the problem that we have in our society now. It's really hard to, when you have a really buttoned up administration and president, it's really easy to come up with government conspiracies. But when you have a president that's live tweeting basically his every thought and is firing people left and right, you don't really feel like there's enough organization in the government right now for there to be any government conspiracies.
I don't know, mid-tier stuff.
Other than just Russian stuff. And
It's kind of like the the garage collapses in Dallas.
That is.
I had a buddy.
The heat?
I had a buddy that brought up a good point. Kind of looked like a controlled demolition to me.
It was really weird. I watched some of that footage yesterday.
Very strange.
So how many different garages was it?
It was the same garage, and I think it collapsed twice or three times.
Okay. Well, there was somebody that was like, with the I think it was the Turner Turnpike, maybe, or no? What's the one up north of, like, that goes from Enid to Tulsa? What's that turnpike?
Oh, I have no idea.
Whatever,
what
it
it's
buckled.
called. I know.
It
Yeah,
buckled, and then I guess I-40 out headed towards like Yukon buckled really bad, and so somebody was like, "We need to get Texas people to put some concrete down here." I was like, "Have you guys ever heard of Allen Stadium or McKinney Stadium?" Like,
Just
Texas
can't trust concrete these days.
Texas does not have a monopoly on concrete.
I'm sure there's people that think that they do, though.
So if the garage collapse were caused by heat, that would be interesting.
Well, I mean, it's been proven that steel beams can't be melted. Or can they?
We
for
need
you
to
to
get you
decide.
like a. If you were older, you probably would have loved those books where it's like a woman burns her hand in Minnesota, and 3,000 miles away, her sister in Sheboygan
She can feel it.
can feel a strange pain in her hand.
Next on Dateline Uncovered.
Mysteries of the Unexplained or something like that
Well, I mean, there's no mystery about what happened
in Iowa.
in New York
Okay,
or Washington, D.C.
let's. So I'd rather talk about Iowa girls' discipline. So is it all girls? Is it all girls?
It's girls and boys, but it's also one of those things that if you look at the numbers, I don't think it's. There was a big USA Today article about it as well in the paper. I think this morning, talking about
The
trying to
ratio.
find it. Yeah, and it's 48 is the number that jumps off at people, and that's the number that's getting retweeted. But I think it's also. I mean, we don't know what's happened to these people or these kids. It hasn't been confirmed that they're actually
Disappearing.
right.
They're
just gone right now.
maybe they're runaways or something.
Right.
Okay.
Very weird.
Anything you guys wanted to hit on the barbecue before we get out of here that we didn't talk about?
I don't think so. I just think that while people were a little disappointed, I don't know, maybe the expectations were a little too high. I do think that there's been it's kind of what we talked about earlier, just a kind of a shift in maybe not mentality. I mean, they would have loved to get 5 kids in there and they all commit.
Well, you do what you do when you can do it. I mean,
Yeah.
if they would have had uncommitted guys in there that they offered, then they would have used that weekend to put some pressure on those guys. But they just didn't have those guys in there. I mean, they can do whatever they can use it for whatever they want. I mean, it's just good to have, I think.
No, yeah. I mean, I definitely don't think that the events of last weekend would be a reason for you not to ever have something like that again.
Like we've said, I mean, to me, it's all about momentum.
Yeah.
And
You just
keeping
wanna
that momentum
continue-
so guys aren't getting bored and starting to look around. And
The next best thing they can do is go run off a bunch of wins the
Yeah,
next
agreed.
5 months. That's the best thing they can do in recruiting.
And play some defense.
Play some defense. Depending on, I guess, quote unquote, who the quarterback is. When I guess Murray's named the starter, that's kind of the next step of the season, as far as ironing out actual
He
position
has a lot
battles.
of hair, so I'm not really. Actually, both of them have a lot of hair, so I'm not really worried about either one of them.
He's going to be wearing
Can't say the same for Taylor.
He's going to be wearing a do-rag.
Do you even call it that anymore?
I don't know. I guess a headband.
Is do-rag spelled D-U-R-A-G?
That's how I spelled it.
When did you write a story with do-rag in it?
Not
recently.
Not as a journalist. No.
I would have gone
okay.
DOO/RAG. Is that wrong?
It's too close to poo rag.
Yeah.
But do-rag, D-U-R-A-G, looks like it's a
Durg.
Soviet Union
Looks like
spelling.
Durg.
Yeah. Like it should be like in the weird font or whatever.
It's going to be hard to find a more swagged out quarterback than Kyler Murray.
Yeah, he might.
He wears a football uniform very well.
He's going to have some. He's going to have the. I wouldn't say flashiest, but he's going to have the most clean Jordan cleats possible.
I would imagine so.
Like he's more of a he is flash as being clean.
I would agree with that.
By the way, did you guys like the Trae Young Audi?
I probably would have gone something else, but that's just personal preference. Probably.
But I mean, with the gunmetal or whatever that was.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty tight.
Okay.
Not bad.
You're saying different type of car, maybe.
I'd probably go Range Rover, but that's just me.
Those break down.
Do they?
It's the
Unless they
third.
want to be a sponsor.
It's the third car since he's been drafted. He bought his mom a car, and he just bought his sister one.
Well, my thought was, well, you've got to ship that to Atlanta. Don't drive that to Atlanta. You get chips on it.
Oh, I would think that there's very little chance that car gets driven to Atlanta.
Yeah, you got to.
You're shipping that.
You're shipping that.
For sure.
Okay, I'm trying to think of just any last minute things, which is terrible of me to do. But practices start. Oh, I know one thing I wanted to bring up. Okay, so Josh, you talked about this a little bit on the boards, but everybody was kind of down on the Carter thing. But I think going into the weekend, everybody thought, well, that's okay if he doesn't choose. Then there's other guys that they're ready to swoop in on that they might like just as much or more. But Josh, you were kind of hitting on the board this week that maybe they don't, they won't even go corner now. That maybe they'll look in a different direction.
Yeah, last week I had heard when we started to hear the good things about Isaiah Rutherford that I think I even might have touched on in the podcast. It was right around that time in the week is when I started to hear them, so I'm not sure. But I had started to hear some talk there, and so I went and, kind of checked, and it sounded like, well, Carter's the priority, but if that doesn't work out, then Rutherford might be the way we go. Well, when the Carter thing went down on Saturday, I kind of went back and checked some more, and it just sounded like we like Rutherford, but maybe Oklahoma's not ready to push in on him and say, okay, we're going to take him and then put ourselves in a numbers crunch, to take another safety, because they have to have another safety. That's just, they know that's part of the game. I don't know that they want to take another corner right now at the cost of having maybe another linebacker or an offensive tackle or something like that. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. But it looks, for people out there wondering, there will be another safety in this class. Like, just flat out, that's going to happen because they need it for numbers. They offered Peyton Powell earlier this week, who I know Bob and I have both talked to a little bit. Definitely has some interest. Bob might be able to expand on that a little bit more. But a guy that definitely likes Oklahoma. And, there are some other names that are still coming out. I know they've reached out to a guy that Scoot mentioned last week in Noah Pola Gates from Arizona. A guy that I love on tape. Really, just I didn't know anything about him. Came across his tape. He's a big time player. So there's going to be more names come up, and you also guys like Jalen Catalon is still absolutely going to be involved. Brendan Gant from Florida is worth remembering. So there are some names to keep an eye on. I think Oklahoma will be fine. They'll get a good safety, but who that will be is absolutely still very much in the air.
Anything, Bob, that you wanted to wrap up with recruiting-wise before we get out of here?
I'll be going to Millwood's midnight practice Sunday. Go look at Marcus Major.
Bob asked if he should go cover Trae Young's pool party.
Not cover.
I said, we're not going. No way.
I just want Bob there with like zinc oxide on his nose.
And
It's 8 o'clock at night.
now your wife. I think, I don't know if I can say this.
But you're
If
gonna.
you're gonna get mad at me for saying it. But she takes care of kids, right? I mean, like
That are
she's-
best
I don't know if she's a
friends
nanny or
Yeah,
Okay.
That's best friends with Trey's younger brother. That's why we would go.
Oh, okay. But
it might be really weird. I have no idea.
see, I don't. Kids at the swim park. I mean,
I know.
I think I guess older people go to Wet and Wild, or what is it called? What's the park and what's the
Whitewater?
Whitewater? Yeah, I think it's Wet and Wild in Arlington.
Yep, it is.
But like, I guess like they have like singles night still at like what's the stupid water park again?
Whitewater?
Whitewater. Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember Whitewater.
Because it's a very forgettable place.
But like that seems to be creepy. Like if you're
Yes.
like in your 40s and you're going to Whitewater trying to meet people and there's little kids there in swimming suits. Like that's no. I think the police should shut that down.
I think most people like that probably have a court order that can't be going to stuff like that.
Yeah. So you're saying that's probably not a very successful night?
Yeah, same reason why they sent in an application to be an ice cream man and never got anything back.
You can buy alcohol at Whitewater, I think.
You can.
God, that blows my mind.
This event is totally framed
cesspool.
As a back-to-school event because he's giving away school supplies and Adidas backpacks. But you just have a feeling there's going to be like fangirls coming too.
Well, I saw somebody was asking if they could come over from Arkansas.
Yeah, you can. It's free to anybody.
I think it's a local media's like TV news dream. Go out there.
No, I don't
B-roll.
think. I don't.
Yeah,
oh God, no!
It's the easiest thing.
Little kids in swimming suits.
You're not going to get B-roll of kids in swimming suits.
But you will. They're going to be in the background.
They eat that shit up.
The whole thing is creepy to me. Having the event, everything.
I mean, he's giving back to the community, giving back to kids.
But he also charges kids to take pictures with him.
Well, it's called capitalism.
It's called Audi number 2. All right, I crapped on Trae Young. If you're keeping score, Eddie.
Yeah, we are keeping score. I mean, I had to get a new piece of paper out. The list is so long.
All right, well, I'm going to stop crapping on people. I'm going to get out of here. So is Eddie and Bob and Josh. Eddie's got to go wait for the cable man.
Yep.
That godforsaken ritual.
Seinfeld.
By the way, by the time we talk to you next week, we'll have seen parts of a practice, and we'll have had 3 media opportunities. So get your iPods ready or your iPhones or whatever, because we'll have a lot of audio and stuff from practice going on. We're going to talk to Lincoln Riley Friday this week. Then we'll have offensive and defensive players Monday and Tuesday next week. So when we do the podcast this time again next week, it's going to be full swing, fall camp, baby. So looking forward to that. And thanks to Josh, thanks to Eddie, thanks to Bob. We'll have a big announcement here soon that we're going to release, and that will include a new intro as well. And Bob, I promise, will be included on that intro here very soon. So until next time, thanks for listening to the Unofficial 40. Go check us out on iTunes. Go rate us. If you're going to be a bitch and give us a 1-star, leave a review. That's what's pissing me off now. Is we've had a couple of people leave a 1 or 2 stars, and they never leave a review.
Yeah, at least take a shot at one of us.
Yeah, no kidding. Do what most people do. Say I hate Carey. So anyway, go rate us on iTunes. Josh, thank you. If you have anything else you want to say.
Only thing I realized we didn't talk about it. I will be at Stacey Wilkins' announcement on Friday in Arkansas, so we'll have that covered with video. We're going to speak to Stacey afterward, all the good stuff.
Does that mean we ain't getting no scoop?
You'll get scoop and you'll like it. Damn it!
That wasn't a redneck voice, by the way. That was angry subscriber. So I don't want to hear your. I don't want to deal with your cancel complaints. All right.
It's the first Friday of the month. Gotta have those commitment predictions.
I was going to say that's the only thing anybody cares about on that scoop. They just want to know what we think's going to happen. So,
well, you've pretty much given away what's going to happen since you're driving all the way to Arkansas.
I've given away nothing. I'm just covering the event. I will not confirm nor deny Arkansas site's presence at the at the event. So we'll just go from there. We're going to see what Stacey has to say.
You'll probably just jinx it like we did with Jacob Phillips.
Yeah, us going into SEC territory hasn't worked out awesome for Oklahoma.
Jerry and Jones.
Yeah. I really love that I made that drive.
Yeah, just don't live stream it like we did.
It was good at the time.
Didn't Eddie have a parting shot? Eddie had something he was saving for the end of the show, didn't he?
Oh, it was about the Iowa
No, it was just
stuff.
about the Iowa missing person.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. Well, sorry, I've delayed the end long enough then.
All right. Thanks, Yell Talker. We'll see you guys next week back here on the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com.
Podcasts from Soonerscoop.com.